So when you see someone young who cares, that's the ultimate respect for us. The good news is every time we invest in saving our soil is we're investing in our own productivity and profitability as well. So it makes sense. What we need to do is make sure it goes to the top of the priority list. It's not just about what's happening on farms that's invested in and directed by farmers, but it's also about the policy settings that are in place to support our natural resources.
That's the whole point of this movement, that you should create policies to incentivize the farmers. The whole point of this movement is to reach each and every person who eats food from soil, only to those people. So we have roughly about 8 billion people who eat food from soil. So we reach out to them, we make sure that they learn about soil, they speak about soil. It has to be the hot topic across the globe. People are not they don't know the significance, what it holds in their life.
Okay. He is a big cyclist.
My bike is right over there.
We need to see this famous bike.
Okay.
And this is Oliver.
By any chance you know Oliver Twist?
I do. Don't get me started singing it.
Nice to see young people working for this.
Isn't it incredible? And Oliver's really passionate about sustainable agriculture too.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Paul. I'm a policy and farm engagement officer at FCA. Yeah, I guess
From
I'm
a farm.
From a farm.
And this is Eleanor. And I wonder if she'll see you twice on your travels.
Going to a couple of places like Rome, Milan, Pisa, Florence. Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Nice.
so you might meet Elena twice.
Okay.
That'll be fun. I actually want to say how much we respect the work you're doing and the leadership you're showing for this planet. We represent 8,400 plus farmers across Australia, some of whom you've met by now.
Okay.
And 85,000 community supporters that aren't farmers. They're in cities and regional communities that really support farmers that do the right thing. And a lot of doing the right thing is looking after our soils, first and foremost. This is what we need for the planet. This is what we need to be profitable, to be productive, to have a healthy farm for future generations. We've got a multi-generational, someone from a multi-generational farming family here. But it means a lot to us. And I'm personally from a city. And I think when you're outside of agriculture, you can really respect and appreciate in awe the profound work that they do, because I can't personally do it, but I benefit from it every day because I love healthy food and fibre. So when you see someone young who cares, who wants to support us to make a difference faster, that's the ultimate respect for us. So it was really important for us to make time and prioritise the opportunity to meet with you and to support you in your work. And also we'll be sharing it on our social media and telling stories, because it's extremely impressive and it's very inspirational and energising. So thank you.
Thank you for having us here. So my name is Sahil. I'm 19 years old. I'm coming all the way from India. And you must have seen India with baby festivals like Holi, the color festival. We worship cows. We eat vegetarian things all over the places. So this is the picture that you must have seen of India.
We also have a big picture of Indian cricket, which is far too impressive.
Yeah.
Far too impressive as well.
Morning.
We love Indian cricketers.
Well, just yesterday I was at this place, a school, near to our drive from here maybe. And someone told me like who's a favorite actor, and I spoke Shah Rukh Khan, and it's like people were shouting and screaming, and they all knew. And who's a favorite cricketer? It's Virat Kohli, and there's again the same response. So I was quite surprised.
He's an honorary Australian. You do know this.
Virat Kohli?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we love him.
Some Australian bowlers might differ.
Well, yeah.
But the population, definitely.
The pace, the fast bowlers may not agree with.
Yeah, Bumrah, we're not so sure,
No.
but anyway.
Okay.
Not really. He's just too impressive.
But more than that, talking about soil, India's 52% of agricultural soil has less than 0.6% organic matter in it. And according to a report from many United Nations agencies, they're predicting that already 33% of world's soil is degraded. Already, we're not expecting it to be degraded, it's already gone. And in the next 25 years, 90% of our world's agricultural soil will be gone. In the next 25 years. And we expected to produce 40% less food for the population that we'll have in the next 25 years. So, no soil left, as a consequence, no food left, and more population. And it's not just about food security, the food that we have does not have enough nutrients in it. One of the surveys that has been done on a Californian orange, they're saying that if you ate one orange 100 years back, what you got from it in terms of vitamins. For the same now, in 2025, you have to eat at least 8 oranges. So one orange 100 years back and 8 oranges today have the same nutrients.
We're aware of that study. We're excited that it's the first study of its kind and looking forward to more wider and deeper studies as well as we learn more about the impact of soil on nutrient density in food.
And it's just unimaginable, it's so scary. But when I go and meet people, I say like I'm doing this to save soil, to raise awareness about it. And people read, almost 80% of the people in the first meeting, they read save oil, not save soil. So the very idea that soil is something that can go extinct is not there. When I was 16, I thought like how can soil go away? How is it even possible? Because it's everywhere. When I ask like people of my generation, maybe a bit more younger, when I ask them like where does the food comes from, they say Woolworths, Coles, Aldi's, sometimes even refrigerator. So it's just not in the psychology that it is something, everything that we consume from where we live to what we wear, each and everything comes from soil. And when that is not good, the food that we eat won't be good and it will directly influence our mental and physical health. I was just having a conversation with Ashwin, he's a psychiatrist from Melbourne here, and he's telling the relation between the food that you eat, the less nutrients in it, and how does it affect the microbiomes and the chemicals in your brain. These chemicals which are present in the food, these are building blocks for the chemicals like serotonin and dopamine in your brain. But when they are not there in the food, because they are not there in the soil, you are struggling in a big way.
Well, we see that because the World Health Organization has advised that depression is the number one illness or disease facing the world today, and that's very linked to the levels of serotonin in the brain. So it's one of those things that if we look at the whole ecosystem approach to solve it, that's going to be important. It's really interesting for us hearing about the impact on, or the perception of soil as being undegradable, but whereas if we're talking about oceans, I think people understand saving our oceans, that it's about the quality of the water and the ecosystem. So there's definitely some education that we can all do and want to do on saving our soils. Farmers for Climate Action will be holding our very first ever national summit called Farming Forever, because that's what we want to do, farm forever in the right way, in Canberra, which is our nation's capital, on the 1st and 2nd of September this year. One of those sessions, we're working in partnership with Soils for Life in Australia.
Yes.
So they're doing some fantastic work, and we'll be bringing them and some farmers doing fantastic work on preserving and literally saving soils, and bringing that to a national audience. We're going to Canberra because we're hoping that our politicians will listen, because it's not just about what's happening on farms that's invested in and directed by farmers, that's important, but it's also about the policy settings that are in place to support our natural resources as a country so that we can meet our goals and global commitments, but also look after the resources that we're privileged to have in Australia, which we call the lucky country, and we want to stay that way.
I think one of the reasons that I started this journey from Australia is, apart from weather and other things, is this is probably the single country in the entire world which has something like National Soil Plan. And they have like 5-7 years window in which they are working. I don't know about the scale of implementation, but they have a plan for it. specific to soil health, which is nowhere in the world.
And we have a cooperative research centre, which is government investment in research on soils, just soils. So that's the Soils CRC. So we recognise that we're an island continent. So we're not a country, we're a country and a continent. And as farmers, we steward 51% of this great continent. So it's a very serious obligation as well as a privilege, and we want to play our part in doing that. The good news is every time we invest in saving our soil is we're investing in our own productivity and profitability as well. So it makes sense. What we need to do is make sure it goes to the top of the priority list.
That's the whole point. And talking about policy, that's the whole point of this movement, that you should create policies to incentivize the farmers. Because, like, let's say if you have to turn towards region agriculture, you have to have a 5-year-old window, for one example. And in that 5 years, you may not have enough resources to support your family. You may not have enough produce. You may not have enough income. So if we have to solve the problem of soil across the globe, it has to happen only through farmers and people who do agriculture as their profession. And if we have to make that happen, the incentivization is probably the single most very direct problem solving thing, because that is they'll be inspired to turn towards this.
We like the carrot, not the stick, don't we, Paul? It makes a big difference. And to be honest, when you're making a positive difference in the world, it makes sense to be incentivized and rewarded for that. Because it actually, you gave the great example of the nutrient density in the oranges. You know, with great soil health, one orange can give as many nutrients as 8 from depleted soil. So it actually does really take an additional relevance in our cost of living crisis today, and the inflation crisis that we're dealing with. So there's a lot of reasons that actually it benefits consumers of food and all Australians as well as the farmers implementing the practices.
Yeah, so this policies in my what I see, it's the solution for a big chunk of this problem. There are many ways to do it. The Indian government, they've recently announced a national mission for natural farming with millions of dollars of investments for creating the infra, the think tanks, the incentivization for farmers. This is one good way to start, but only with everyday people like you and me. If they continue to speak, maybe social media could be a good medium. Can that become a reality? Can that be expedited, the solution? And it's very much needed.
Well, we will definitely share it on our social media, but we're also going to ask consumers that see this to consider their purchasing decisions. So if you want to support farmers that are investing in regenerative agriculture, there's ways of identifying that at the checkout and looking and noticing your purchasing decisions. That makes a big difference and sends a price signal to incentivise. That's in our power to do. If that's within your purchasing power, that's something that you can do today without being a farmer. For farmers, we direct them to the Soils for Life website for our Climate Smart Farming Toolkit on our website. That's available today. Come to our summit and meet and chat to other people that are doing great things. Look at field days. There's so many great ways to do it. And what I found is when you're looking after your soil and you see the land come back, in Australia we've got people in dire drought right now in South Australia, in Western Victoria, in Gippsland in Victoria. We've got parts of Queensland where you've recently been that are still suffering the dreadful impacts of floods. We've had people suffering extreme weather events within very short timeframes of each other. The great thing about regenerative soil practices is that it's often quite accessible as an investment. It doesn't take a huge capital outlay to do, quite the opposite. It's about different ways of operating and different systems on farm. And seeing that land come back is very rewarding. It's very special to see.
And I've been to a couple of the farms which have been flooded, not throughout the year, many times a year. and they have been that like in repetitive, like especially farms which are closer to the a creek or a river, and they have been like some of these farmers they have turned towards like putting more cover crops, putting more greenery, so many of the water that comes, it can be like the soil will just like soak it up. It won't affect the soil in a big way. So yeah.
That's right. It's much more absorbent.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. We'll go around the team to see if there's messages or what the impact of your story and your actions are on us. So yeah.
Well, it's actually just usually to ask a question if it's okay, but I'd love to know some positive examples that you've seen on your travels of farmers or organizations like Farmers for Climate Action or the movement that you're working with. What like positive stories have motivated or inspired you so far?
Well, one of the things that we're doing, I'm partly volunteering for that. It's called Kaveri Calling. It's a movement in India. I don't know if you've heard of it. So we aim to plant 2.42 billion trees in the 33% of the Kaveri River, which is in South India, in the basin of that river. And the idea is to turn the farmers towards regenerative farming, agroforestry as the prime example. So we give them trees at a very, very nominal price, and we have planted so far about 122 million trees in and around the farmers' private farmlands. So they take care of the trees. It's a source for their income, and like we have seen, like in 5 to 10 years time, their income has rose somewhere between 300 to 800%. So it is good agroeconomy model. It's not just good for the environment but for the farmers. And
you might talk about Michael Taylor and his agroforestry story.
Yeah, we are. So one thing that Farmers for Climate Action is excited about this year is a new partnership with an organisation that's very, very invested in regenerative agricultural practices and farming practices that restore nature and that encourage companies to incentivize this, policies that incentivize this. And one thing that we will be doing at Farmers for Climate Action is finding farmers with really unique and positive stories to tell about the role of nature and biodiversity in their farming system. And we will be working to spread their story, so to introduce them to the media, to make sure that they are trained to speak with decision makers, to give them a platform to share their story so it informs policy. And we have two very wonderful farmers that have very unique stories to tell about nature on their own farms. We have Michael Taylor, who has been a scholar that's travelled around the world talking about agroforestry based on his experience in New South Wales. And we also have a First Nations farmer, her name's Jocelyn King, who's speaking a lot about the role of traditional knowledge in informing farming practices that are good for the soil, good for nature, good for the environment. So yeah, we are thrilled about this. This is coming up in the next 12 months, that we'll have more of these farmers hopefully giving more of their story out on a platform that we can give them.
I found First Nation people, they are like, it's in the genes to protect the land. They know how to do it. I had some festivals like a smoking ceremony at a couple of places, and they spoke about the traditional land and how they are protecting it and the responsibility for the next generation, which is quite absent in the modern world.
Yeah.
It's true wisdom, isn't it?
And they have been doing it successfully for thousands of years.
Thousands of years, yeah. We are, the farming systems we have today are a very, very small amount of time in comparison.
Yes.
Yeah.
I suppose I just wanted to ask you if you know of any sort of organisations that would be good to reach out to in India or globally to talk about sort of the same thing that you've been talking to us about soil health and things like that.
I think Conscious Planet, which I have been partly volunteering for, the whole point of this movement is to reach each and every person who eats food from soil, only to those people. So we have roughly about 8 billion people who eat food from soil. So we reach out to them, we make sure that they learn about soil, they speak about soil. And I've been volunteering for Conscious Planet by myself to reach 1 billion people. I have put a number for myself that I'll be reaching out to these people, particularly by using social media and making them learn, making them speak. And there is a option in our social media as well as the website that we have. It's called write a letter or email to your leaders. So you are from any country, you just select your country, you select your state, and national and state leaders' email address and postal address will be there. And there's a draft message that's already there. You can just send email within 10 seconds. So it's showing your concern about soil, showing your priority for soil, so that there would be some policy level action everywhere.
Okay.
And I love the use of language, sewing. It's very clever.
Mm-hmm.
Great question. Yeah.
I suppose where do you see next is your next country that you want to talk to about the importance of soil health after Australia?
So I'll be going to roughly about 20 countries in total, and after Australia, I've been to New Zealand actually already, and from here I'll be going towards Indonesia and Singapore and Malaysia, 3 countries in Asia, and I'll start about 12 countries in Europe. Italy could be my first country, or France. I'm just figuring out the route. And in Europe, it's about Italy, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Austria, Hungary, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, France, Luxembourg, and then UK and States.
Wow.
It's roughly about 20 countries in total.
Wow. To reach 1 billion people.
To reach 1 billion people.
Wow. Impressive.
Wow.
Because it has to be the hot topic across the globe. People are not they don't know the significance, what it holds in their life. Talk about allergies, talk about mental health, talk about the food that you're eating, how it's impacting your health. It's not just supporting, it's actually degrading your health. Because the food that you're eating, it's in one way it's just poison. Maybe a small bits and pieces of it, it's poison. It's especially seen in India, like allergies and these things are just absent. It's nowhere anywhere closer if we leave urban cities in India, in the rural places, and the same is here in Australia as well. It is only the food that we eat, the way that we eat, how it is processed, the whole factory process that goes towards where it is put in the refrigerator, or all of that has a big impact on your health.
We're very much focused on improving soil health and nutrient density, but I have to say that all food in Australia is very safe to eat. It won't hurt you because we have very high regulations and high integrity farming methods. But that doesn't mean we're not always looking to be much better, and this focus is key part of that.
Oh.
Yeah.
So Hill, are you seeing, you mentioned before that Australia is very unique by having a national soil plan.
Yes.
Are there any other countries that you're excited to go to that have an interesting story around soil or an interesting example that you've thought about or heard about?
Relevant and specific to soil health, there is, in my knowledge, what I have done research on, there's absolutely no country in the entire world which has specific focus on soil.
Okay.
This is probably the single country that I found which is doing something like this. And there's a body called Soil Science Australia.
Yes, that's correct. We've met with them.
We went to their breakfast.
Okay, so I've met the Honourable Penny Wensley AC,
Yes.
the patron of Soil Science Australia.
Yes.
And she attended one of our event at the High Commission of India in Canberra.
Yeah.
So
I used to work with Penny at the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade a long time ago. And so she's a fine, high integrity custodian for this role. She's very, very fit for the job.
The way she spoke about soil and the passion, that's clearly visible. That's undeniable.
That's something we can call out is Australia's unique role and the importance of cherishing and standing up. And this is a great example of leadership that we should hold fast to and keep supporting and strengthening.
Yeah.
It's nice to be in a national leadership position on a climate issue, isn't it?
Oh, completely. It's so interesting that we often speak about Australia having an incredibly extreme, has had an extreme climate for a very long time. It's a very unique part of the world, and that our agricultural industry has established in such an extreme environment, and from that experience that we have so much to share to the world that is increasingly experiencing extreme weather events and is being affected by climate change. And I think we speak about that often in reference to drought preparedness and resilience, or resilience to extreme weather. But maybe we don't speak about it enough in regards to soil and how we manage soil, because we do have I think some parts of Australia are some of the oldest soils in the world.
I mean, it's incredible landscape, the kind of wildlife and the trees all across from Queensland to New South Wales to ACT to Victoria. It's too good for like biodiversity. It's good for the land. It's good for the people to live in this kind of situation. This is how humans are supposed to live. So it's incredible. And coming back to your question, any other country that I'm looking forward to, really, it's US, surprisingly, because it's like, I've heard it somewhere, if people in US, they wear blue jeans, the whole world will wear blue jeans. If they will tear their blue jeans in the part of knee, the whole world will tear the blue jeans in part of knee. So if they speak about soil and if they make it a priority, the whole world will follow that. So US is something that I'm really looking forward to.
Okay.
Yeah, let's hope. That would be great to see the US leading in a positive way.
Yes.
Very, very powerful.
What is your favourite Australian animal from your trip so far?
Oh, undebatable. Kangaroo.
The kangaroo. Straight up.
They're just too cute when they
They're
jump,
so
and I have met them like this,
Yeah.
and they're just too incredible.
Yeah.
I heard so much about it when I was about to come here. The people scared me that be careful, they may jump on you, they may do boxing with you, and they may jump on your bicycle, be careful. But they are really cool and they're really amazing.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Love it. We love them too. Closing thought.
Would you like a sticker? I don't know if you would like to put it on your bike or.
Go ahead. I'm not put on a bike, but you can certainly click a picture with this.
Yeah.
Maybe even right away.
Yeah. Thanks.
Must be capturing already.
Yeah.
But I have to take a photograph, or Ruby can.
Thank you so much for joining
Thank you.
us today, Sahil. It means the world that we're on your tour. Please know that you've renewed and reinvigorated our focus and got us to look at saving soils in a different way. So you'll see some good renewed vigour and action from us on this topic, and we really appreciate the work you're doing. So let's hope that you smash your goal of 1 billion people. We'll do everything we can to help improve those numbers. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
3.
Save soil. Let's make it happen.